Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus site. News to come on for the first time. Rob Reiner's son, Nick Reiner, in court, facing first-degree murder charge of the stabbing deaths of his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. What he says in court. Also, the new surveillance images moments before his arrest and the video with his hands in the air. And where his parents were found inside the home. Tonight, President Trump addressing the nation, aware of his dismal poll numbers on the economy, making the case that his policies are working. Meantime, the revolt on Capitol Hill today. Some moderate Republicans going behind the speaker's back to force a vote with 20 million Americans set to see their health insurance premiums skyrocket unless Congress and the White House do something. Also, the meeting close to and the New York Times is now reporting the name. Arthur Raditz is here. We're tracking tonight a new cross-country storm with millions now travel for the holiday week ahead. Dangerous rain and snow for crime to a neighbor northeast, hitting roof of a home. Bystanders jumping in. And our great Made in America Christmas a week from tomorrow. Tonight, the last-minute gifts right here. From the pies to the pottery to the gift for the family dog. There's something for everyone tonight. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight. This major storm. Chaos. Good evening for joining us. On mid how BC Ontario is bringing everything from snow, high and cause major potholes. Look at this mighty swath of special weather states and warnings that stretch from the BC interior to Nova Scotia and north territories. But it's parts of central Canada and the prairies that are taking the brunt of snow and winds of up to 110 kilometers an hour. Catherine Ludwig begins our coverage tonight from Edmonton, where an Alberta clipper brought parts of the province to a standstill.
Steve, looking possible to outside across Alberta. Early Wednesday morning, people woke up to a thick, heavy blanket of fluffy snow, and it has only intensified. A major highway just north of Calgary was shut down because of the weather, which led to a pileup involving around 100 vehicles. Roads everywhere are busy and slippery with diminished visibility from the blowing snow. There's a number of collisions and pileups reported in Edmonton too, nearly 100 being reported before noon. The heavy amounts of snow are getting mixed reactions from Albertans.
I've been here for 4 years, and this is probably the worst I've seen.
I love winter, and I think if you have proper coats and scarf and everything, it helps you enjoy it more.
I hope it's here to stay. I mean, it's what Edmonton's about. It's what winter's about.
I love it.
It should, because that's what being Edmontonian, snow is a part of our life.
While traveling on the roads isn't very easy, air travel isn't any easier. This morning in Edmonton, experiencing and cancellations, but things have since picked back up. Jeff?
Very different, right? Jason and cell phones. Now it of tools may not have had in the mid-90s or didn't have then to track someone's movements a lot around anonymously this day and age.
Yeah, it's a good point. So he was wearing this vest. We know that it's likely that the defense here, to the extent that it will be brought forward, will have to do with his mental state. Who makes the decision that he goes in there?
Sort of precaution regarding generally the officers, the Department of Correction, it's more the judge,
State of mind. Jackson, who is known as a lot of high-profile clients. We're not sure who's paying him in this case. I guess we'll find that out. But he will really go to the state of mind of this young man. Watch this back and forth between Ron and Nick Ryan. Just one example of watching them interact. This was on Access Hollywood in 2016. Watch.
It was fun. Don't say to be using crazy. You know,
we both can get.
You don't roll easily either.
No, we can both get pretty hot, and there were times when we did get hot. But
he weren't like that. He was very loving and compassionate. I just think that he didn't really know what to do.
More from this. This is another example that we
he's on. I love not that important than anything that could happen to me. I care more about him. He's most important, and Jake and Romy and my family, they're the most important. So that doesn't factor in.
Just a real quick thought on the defense here.
Well, it's gut-wrenching to watch that. I mean, mental health issues and drug issues, by the way, they're mostly joined at the hip. We tend to look at those as separate silos, but 25 years of doing this myself, they almost always come together. I agree with you. I think, like the attorney, Mr. Jackson, he's handling it as it should be handled now. He's not overcommitting to anything. But if the police went forward and made the arrest, they likely have overwhelming evidence that Nick Reiner was at the scene of the crime and is the one who committed this horrific crime. And he's probably going to be going forward with either not guilty by reason of insanity or what we call a diminished capacity defense, saying that he lacked the ability to form the.
Good morning, it is 7 o'clock and welcome to Mornings with Richard Frost.
With Sophie and Wilf, a very good morning from me as well. Lots to get to.
Teachers will be trained to spot early signs of misogyny in boys as part of the government's long-awaited strategy to tackle violence against women and girls.
Diminishing hopes of peace in Ukraine, Putin lashes out at European leaders, calling them little pigs, and says Russia will take the Donbass by force if necessary.
Mourners gather in Sydney for the funeral of Bondi Beach's youngest victim, Matilda.
Also today, we're speaking to superstar actor and rapper Riz Ahmed.
He's here to talk about Shakespeare, social justice, and his passion to make the world a fairer place.
A very good morning to you. The government will publish its long-awaited plans to crack down on violence against women and girls today. Changing attitudes among boys and young men is at the centre of the strategy. There's a big focus on the classroom and teaching boys about misogyny.
Now, the government points to a statistic that over 40% of young men say they admire the controversial influencer Andrew Tate. Now, teachers are going to be trained to spot the early warning signs of misogyny in boys and also given some support to try and tackle those views head on. Molly Malone reports.
Psychological abuse, economic abuse, tech abuse.
What teenagers are being taught is changing. At this school in North London, they're taking part in a workshop about healthy relationships.
What did I do now?
You're such a flirt, and that just annoys me.
Role-playing scenarios to help them navigate life outside of the classroom.
Always doing it, and it really annoys me.
We heard in the workshop phrases like toxic relationships, toxic masculinity. Does that sort of reflect what you're seeing online?
Yeah, of course. I feel like most people have experienced it, and it's not a good feeling, and it's good to learn how to deal with it.
Programmes like this are central to the government's new Violence Against Women and Girls strategy, with a requirement for secondary schools to start teaching them, as ministers look to focus on prevention, the attitudes of young boys, and challenging misogyny.
We know even if a young person isn't in an abusive relationship, they're experiencing peer pressure, or they're seeing things online, they're hearing things from, the manosphere, or they're hearing messages about toxic masculinity.
Halving violence against women and girls within a decade was a manifesto pledge. The strategy to get there has been highly anticipated and long delayed, but now comes with 3 core aims: to prevent with education to tackle the root causes of violence, to stop abusers by strengthening police tactics, and to better support victims within the criminal justice system.
It should never be allowed for you to hit your partner under any circumstances, no matter what.
The government have called violence against women and girls a national emergency. It is a message and a mission.
Today, the Prime Minister announces sweeping reforms to clamp down on anti-Semitism, while the opposition demands Parliament be recalled.
A show of genuine leadership cannot be delayed any further.
United in grief, more victims from Sunday's attack laid to rest, including a Holocaust survivor and 10-year-old Matilda. A review finds widespread failures led to the Optus deadly 000 outage. And Australia's bowlers ensure the hosts are firmly in charge on day 2 of the 3rd Ashes Test in Adelaide. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Ros Childs. The government will begin developing new laws to crack down on preachers of hate and give new powers to the Home Affairs Minister to cancel and reject visas. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says penalties for hate speech will also be toughened and a new federal offence created to penalise those advocating racial supremacy. Standing alongside the Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism, Mr Albanese committed to adopting her report in full and implementing its recommendations.
Agreed changes will include 1. Aggravated hate speech offence for preachers and leaders who promote violence. Secondly, increased penalties for hate speech promoting violence. Thirdly, making hate an aggravating factor in sentencing crimes for online threats and harassment. Fourthly, developing a regime for listing organisations whose leaders engage in hate speech promoting violence or racial hatred. And fifthly, developing a narrow federal offence for serious vilification based on race and or advocating racial supremacy. Of course, more could have always been done. I accept my responsibility for the part in that as Prime Minister of Australia. But But what I also do is accept my responsibility to lead the nation and unite the nation. Because what people are looking for at this time isn't more division. They are looking to come together.
Soon after the Prime Minister's announcement, the opposition leader Susan Lee criticised Mr Albanese's response to the attack, accusing him of failing to act and listen to the Jewish community. Ms Lee has outlined a plan to tackle anti-Semitism if elected, including passing legislation to give effect to Special Envoy Julian Segal's plan and give powers to the Immigration Minister to refuse visas on the grounds of anti-Semitism. She's called on Mr Albanese to recall Parliament to eradicate anti-Semitism and to strengthen Australia's counter-terrorism laws.
A show of genuine leadership cannot be delayed any further. The time for words is...
Africa News. The news.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi rallied countries from the global south on Wednesday to stand up for themselves and stand together. Modi was speaking to MPs in Addis Ababa, where he's on the second leg of a three-nation tour. He reminded his audience of Ethiopia's victory in a 19th century battle against Italian invaders. India and Ethiopia already have strong bilateral ties. Modi's four-day trip also includes Jordan and Oman, important energy producers that can help meet India's growing energy demands.
Tunisia raised the wife of the ousted Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoko Embalo has been charged in Portugal with suspected money laundering and smuggling. She arrived in Lisbon last weekend on the same flight as Tito Fernandes, an associate of Embalo, who was arrested upon landing with nearly €5 million in cash. Fernandes has since been released after appearing before a judge. Guinea-Bissau has been unstable since the military coup in late November. Just before elections results were announced, the military announced they had taken control, arrested the president, and suspended the elections. Guinea, a former Portuguese colony, has experienced 4 coups since independence in 1974. In response, the community of Portuguese language countries has suspended Guinea-Bissau and appointed East Timor as interim president. Portuguese Foreign Minister Paulo Rangel has also called for a return to constitutional order in Guinea-Bissau.
In the Central African Republic, preparations for the general elections, scheduled for December 28, 2025, have reached a milestone with the arrival of sensitive electoral materials in the capital, Bangui. Speaking at the handover ceremony, the Deputy Special Representative of the UN Secretary General and Humanitarian Coordinator highlighted the combined efforts of the government and the international community in making the operation possible. This day is the result of a very significant.
This is DW News, live from Berlin. Donald Trump talks up his economic record in an address to the nation.
We're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
The U.S. president blames his predecessor, Joe Biden, for inflation and promises an economic boom. But can he convince Americans growing angry over rising prices? Also on the program, Venezuela defiant in the face of a U.S. oil blockade, saying its crude exports are unaffected. Donald Trump is now demanding Venezuela return what he calls U.S. oil assets. Crunch talks in Brussels on financial aid for Ukraine. EU leaders will decide whether to use frozen Russian assets to help Kyiv defend itself. And how Indian authorities are attempting to tackle the scourge of smog in the capital, New Delhi, one of the world's most polluted cities.
On France 24 and France24.com.
Welcome back to Daybreak. Here are this morning's headlines. European leaders prepare to meet in Brussels, where they hope to come to an agreement to convert frozen Russian assets into aid for Ukraine, despite the misgivings of Belgium, where the frozen assets are held. Donald Trump hails his successes in a televised tradition, praising his accomplishments on the economy and immigration, but has few words of comfort for Americans hit by inflation and rising prices.
Thank you for watching Ahmed Shakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.